Alright, welcome to episode 4 of Chrome Music Lab. Today we are going to talk about the word arpeggio and what that means and how that applies to what we've been learning up until this point. So, the word arpeggio in Italian means to play on the harp. The word arpeggio is used a lot in music, and I kind of want to make a connection between what it means to be played on the harp and how it's used on other instruments. So, because it's something that's commonly used, and when you really understand it, it can really open up a lot of doors for creativity, basically. And how notes work together. Instead of just randomly pressing a bunch of buttons on, notes when you're writing music, it kind of helps to give you some order, or at least a foundation that you can then build on and start building more in the direction that you want to take it, your own creative voice. But for now, we want to understand just kind of the basics of what this means. Okay, so we've been talking about how the notes that we use in Songmaker and just in music in general, the major scale, the diatonic scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that is how the Songmaker is tuned. It's also how the harp is tuned. Let's see. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right here. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. All right. So we have our diatonic harmony right there. We got the major scale. So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a chord. Okay, the one chord. It's got the do, mi, sol. It's got the 1, 3, 5. So right here, when you play all those notes together, it sounds like this. All right, that is the one chord. It's based off of do. Do is the root, mi is the third, sol is the fifth. On the harp, it sounds like this. Same thing. Okay, do, mi, sol, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. All right. Now, what it means to do an arpeggio is to take the notes of a chord, and instead of playing them all at the same time, like if you have 3 different people all singing different notes, like ha, ha, ha. What we're gonna do is stretch that out in time. Okay, so harmony is when notes are played at the same time. A melody is when they're played in time, like a sequence of notes. So we're gonna kind of actually find a middle ground in between harmony and melody here, where we're gonna take the notes that are tied together in a harmony, and we're gonna play them, we're gonna spread them out in time, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this third, I'm gonna move it right here. I'm gonna take the 5th and move it here. So now it's gonna be played in time. So it's root, 3rd, 5th, 3rd on the harp. Root, 3rd, 5th, 3rd. All right, that is an arpeggio. We are playing the notes of a chord individually. And I'm gonna do that across this whole bottom here, just for fun. Oops. So we can get really creative with this, but right now we're just gonna keep it really simple. Dun, dun, dun. So let's play this for a second. Oops. Okay. So you could do this in any kind of pattern that you want. Right now, we're just starting with a really simple pattern, not using any of this information too creatively yet. We are just doing the most basic thing, and this pattern is low, middle, high, middle. Low, middle, high, middle. We haven't really talked about rhythm at all, but I'm going to talk about that for a second now. And in the Songmaker app, there is a grid going up and down, up and down, and then it also goes, so that would be vertical, okay, and that is what determines which tone you're playing, and then it goes horizontal from left to right, and that is talking about the time, okay? So each step going up or down is a step in the scale. Each step going from left to right is an eighth note, okay? So it's split up into, there's 8 eighth notes in a measure here, 4 quarter notes in a measure. This part's kind of confusing, but you can count them out and you can see there's 4 notes in a measure. We're going to spend some more time on this in the future. And so for right now, we are, in each measure, we're just playing quarter notes, putting 4 notes in a measure, okay? So you can see them all evenly out like that. Okay, so this is us just using the 1 chord, all right? So based on what we learned about chords, let's take a different chord in the second part of this. So we're going to start out with the 1 chord here. Or actually, let's keep the 1 chord for the 3rd and 4th measure, but let's change. Let's move everything up 1. Okay. So I'm going to delete the bottom part now. So now we have the 2 chord. Everything's based off of the 2 chord for the first measure and the second measure. Let's hear what that sounds like. Oops. One chord. 2 chord. 1 chord. 2 chord. 1 chord. Okay, so now we are taking information where we talked about the different types of chords. Then after that we talked about inversions. So we can actually take some of these chords and not just use the order of the 1, 3, the root in the bass, the 1, 3, 5. We can put the root on the top, or we can put the 3rd in the top, or the 5th. So let's take the first chord here, and I'm just going to bring it back so we can see it. Okay. Now let's put that orange note in the top, and now I'm going to take it off the bottom. And so let's see here. Oops. Get rid of those other notes there. Okay, so in that first measure, we're doing the 2 chord, but we're doing an inversion where we have the root on the top. And then let's go to the 3rd measure, and we're going to do the inversion of that too, where we put, okay, let's see here. I'm going to build the chord first so we can see it. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding in all the notes so I can see what they are, and then I'm creating the pattern, low, middle, high, low, middle, high, middle for whatever sequence that we're doing, whatever inversion we're doing. Okay. So now we have a different inversion in the first measure and a different inversion in the 3rd measure. So we got 2 chords and 2 different inversions per chord in a bigger sequence here. Okay, let's see how this goes. Wow. Already using some of these ideas that we've been talking about, it's starting to sound much more unique, and you can see that there are really infinite possibilities here. We can arrange the chords in any order that we want. we can start with one chord, two chord, three chord, whatever, make a pattern of those different chords, and then once we have those chords established, we can start playing with different inversions of those chords, and that can create a lot of different patterns. And keep in mind, we've only been doing one rhythmic pattern, which is low, middle, high, middle. That's just kind of a template, a form to get you started, but that there's many more beyond that. So one other thing I want to add on top of this is we kind of have a low arpeggio, and it's a little bit slower moving. It's in quarter notes. What we can do in the like a higher voice of music is create like a faster arpeggio. So let's take this 2 chord and let's see. So we can just use colors here. So for this 2 chord, we got green, purple, and yellow. So let's find those. Oops, green and purple. So I'm actually going to use the 8th notes here. Not all of them. Oh wait, I'm not using them yet. Let's see here. So I'm still using chord tones here. And then let's use that orange note for the second part of this. Okay, now we're into the 1 chord. We can only use yellow, green, and red. So let's find yellow. Oops. Oh, that's green. There's no rules to this. You can, play around with different combinations of notes. That's kind of a big jump, but what the heck. So you can see I'm using the root and the third of the 1 chord there. So here I'm going to sit out of the way here so we can start to see. So we're using 8th notes on the top. On the bottom we are using quarter notes. This might sound a little bit crazy because there's no way to make the volume quiet for the higher notes, so it's going to sound really busy, but maybe it'll sound cool. Let's hear. Alright, I think that sounds pretty cool. This could be tweaked a lot, but you can start to see where I'm coming from. I'm thinking when I'm doing the 1 chord or the 2 chord, I'm only going to be using notes from those. And keep in mind that is also a template. You can obviously go beyond that, but for right now when you're just getting started, I find it's better to start just using chord tones because it's going to keep it sounding musical and more harmonic. And then once you kind of get a feeling or a sense of that established, you can start to go beyond that and find different types of notes that you like. So I think that's all we're going to do for today. This is a lot of information to play around with. So just to reiterate, what we're doing is we are taking a chord, and then instead of playing the notes at the same time, which is how a chord is usually played, we are arpeggiating them, just like on a harp. Instead of playing the notes all at once, we are playing them. Okay, we're playing them over a sequence in time. So I just played a C major chord, a 1, 3, 5 of C, Do, Mi, Sol, over 2 octaves. Okay, that's the 1 chord. Okay, that's the 2 chord. And that is a different pattern than I just put over here. Just to give you an idea, let's get rid of this, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, oops, 3, 5. That's just a major triad over 2 octaves. There you go. All right, that's it for today. Stay tuned because we're going to keep on kind of, now that we have a good foundation for what we can create, we're going to do a little bit more subtle techniques and kind of ways that you can use this information to continue being creative and finding new doors of creativity. So, all right, thanks for tuning in.